All right. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. It is March 28th, 2023. We are here for the market open. The stock market in the United States of America will be opening in 10 minutes. So we have 10 minutes. It is 9:20 a.m. and we have 10 minutes until the market will be opening. We are up in the market. S&P is up. NASDAQ is up. Futures are up. Everything is up. The question is, will everything that is up still last, even though that it is up? And that's what we are going to be analyzing and seeing today on the market. Thank you all for being here. Jackalope, Johnny, Cameron, David Williamson, Sasky Rose, Chai Young Lee, Jesse, Drew Cameron. Hello. Thanks for being here. Drew says, what price are you looking for before you buy Palantir? I've been buying, I would like under, what is it? Is under 8 right now? It's at 804. Yeah, I mean, under 8 to me is like typically, loading up is under 7. I don't know if we're going to get that level anytime soon. We would have to see a little bit of a macro shift, but if that is the case, then yeah, that'd be awesome. Under 8 though, I like. So that's not the worst in the world. Freelancer Finance 16 watching. WTF. Thank you for being one of the 16. Freelancer Finance, I appreciate that. By the way, do you guys like the title of the video? I thought some of you guys might appreciate it. It is of live stream. It's the stock market is like a donut shop, all these options but looking for my glazed 10x. I thought it was kind of I got this little thing from the donut from it's not a donut, it is a bagel twist. So if I take an occasional bite, please excuse me. I've not eaten anything all day, but it is a bagel twist. Much more healthier than a donut. I kind of can't eat donuts anymore, to be honest. I just there's too much sugar. But yeah, hope you the word glazed doesn't feel right. Okay, guys, fine. Glazed doesn't feel right. Miyoko, good morning. Dex, what's up? Martin, what's up? Really making sure you get your cut. All I hear is Homer Simpson. That's a good one. The 10x is the sour cream. Wow, sour cream is disgusting. I don't like sour cream at all. Bagel twist. Yeah, it's a bagel. There's no cream cheese though. It's just a bagel. I don't know how to describe it. If you've been to Dunkin', you know what it is. But there's no cream cheese inside. It's just it has cheese, but it's not like cream cheese or anything. It's just a bagel twist. Okay, let's get into what we've got going on. So obviously we've got we've got everything up in the pre-market, or at least some things are up. It looks like some stocks are down. If stocks are down, they're down marginally, not like crazy. Nvidia's down a little bit. Palantir is up. CrowdStrike is up. Meta down just a little bit at $200. Spotify 128 down 0.68%. I did a take on Spotify in the morning cowbell number 2 or number 3. I had a conversation with a guy who's been analyzing them for a couple of years and basically says they spent $2 billion and have got zero in return when it comes to their podcasting. The stock is up 65% for the year. So, I mean, take that as you will. We're in some dicey situations with where the market is going. I do think the stock is undervalued, or it was undervalued. But if the podcasting thing doesn't play out, then it might be a little bit overvalued. So we'll have to see from there. Bitcoin falling to 26,900. This is really sad what's happening with Bitcoin. It got pumped up to 28,000 because one guy has a loudmouth on Twitter and says it's going to go to 1 million in 90 days. That's not going to happen. And I don't even know if it gets to 60, 70,000. I mean, the days are running out. I think he's got like 70 days left now at this point. So I don't know. I think, but buying Bitcoin right now, if you're DCing it into the long term, maybe, but if you're betting for it to get to 1 million in 90 days, I just don't think that's going to be happening. Robinhood at 861. We've got Ethereum at about 1,700. S&P 395. So down just slightly in the pre-market. And again, the fact that it is March 28th and the S&P has not collapsed at the levels at which we were estimating it was going to collapse near the end of 2022, to me is already a win for the market. I mean, the fact that the S&P has been relatively flat or even up since the end of 2022. Remember, the S&P it got hit pretty badly. In 2022, it was at a 340-ish October 348, October 13th, right there. I mean, like, it's been doing pretty well since then. It's even at 396, and we haven't had this catastrophic collapse yet. Tesla at 192, so Tesla's up 0.10%. Obviously, Twitter and Elon Musk, big announcement. I did a take on that in my morning cowbell, so you guys can check that out to know my opinion about verification badges. Does it really affect Tesla? Not that much, but it is Elon, and Elon is part of that company. So if anything, it affects the profitability of Twitter, which is important for Elon, so he doesn't have to sell more Tesla shares to finance the debt that he has on Twitter. So that's important. We got Microsoft at 270. 5, TDoc 24. It's a relatively boring market. Nothing crazy happening. Apple at 158. The only big news is Alibaba up 10%. They're splitting up the company into 6 different divisions and doing an IPO for each 6 of them. So that's up 10%. But that's not the most exciting news to have a stock go too crazy. Ligma Sack, good morning. Thank you for being here. Palantir short interest now 7.74%. Yeah, I actually did saw that yesterday. Is the thumbnail Dunkin' Donuts? Yes, the thumbnail is indeed Dunkin' Donuts. Let me go to FRC. All right, I'm betting FRC is up 15%. The FRC is up 15%. FRC is up 1.58%. Okay, so I was wrong on that. But FRC pre-market $14. So yesterday it ended at 11% up. Now currently at 14. Still not that much confidence in the banking sector from consumers. I mean, I think a lot more has to happen, particularly just time has to pass and people have to see that the banking sector doesn't fail in order for there to be a little bit more confidence. But $100 billion was withdrawn from banks last week. So, it is still a little bit tough to bet on the banking markets currently. Good morning. Balaji probably already made 2 million to pay for that bet. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, if his average was in the 15, 16K, he probably already. Well, the thing is though, wallets are public. And if people know his wallet address, we would know if he's been able to sell. So I would imagine that people would see if he sells, but he says publicly he doesn't sell, and maybe that he's lying. I don't know. We'll see there. Are you wearing a hat because you've got the windows open again? Yeah. And I don't want you guys to see my blurry hair and my windy hair. And then you guys tell me, oh, you're outside. It's like, no, I'm in the room. The window's open. So that's why we wear the hat so that all those myths can be put to bed. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, TJ the Wheel Deal. Thank you for being here. Okay. So we've got 3 minutes till the market open. Again, the big news was around Elon and Twitter. The other piece of news that we had that I think is important, and I want to share this before we get into the market open, is Binance CEO, CZ, informally known, is being sued. And there's some pretty serious allegations that are happening here. A Binance spokesperson called the CFTC's actions unexpected and disappointing, saying the company's made significant investments over the past 2 years to ensure we don't have U.S. users active on our platform, including more money spent on compliance, et cetera, et cetera. As for CZ himself, his first public response was to tweet for an appearance reference to previous post of his laying out his do's and don'ts for 2023. 4, ignore FUD, fake news, attacks. This was his tweet in January. So he tweeted number 4 because he's saying, hey, we're going to ignore some of these attacks. Now, I haven't gone through the entirety of the lawsuit, but it does look a bit serious. It says the CTFC also said Binance's own documents for the month of August 2020 showed that the platform earned $63 million in fees from derivatives transactions, and that about 16% of its accounts were identified as being held by U.S. customers. They're being sued for the types of derivative contracts they are offering, in particularly from a U.S. law perspective, because U.S. customers were basically had either exposure or they were identified as actual users on the platform, and U.S. users are not allowed to use the platform. I guess we'll see what happens. Binance to me seems like a house of cards, just like FTX was. And if you can't register yourself in the United States and play by some of the rules, and you have to be in China or wherever they are, there's obviously some issues going on. So we'll end up seeing what happens. But Binance is in a little bit of a tough situation. Now, if Binance collapses, Bitcoin will also collapse. Like if that exchange falls apart, Bitcoin is not going to be able to maintain from that. So I think that's also another reason that it makes more sense right now why Bitcoin is collapsing a little bit, at least to the $26,000 range from $28,000, because if Binance is going down a little bit, then Bitcoin's probably going to get a little bit of that residual decline as it comes there. Okay, we've got 30 seconds until the market open. Hope everyone is having a good day. Can you please tell me what you had for breakfast in the chat? I genuinely am curious. That's why every podcast I do with Vitaly and Chris and Carlos, I ask them what they had for dinner, and they get annoyed by that question, but I don't know why. I just like asking that question. When I used to coach kids in debate, I had like a bunch of 5th graders I used to coach about a year and a half ago. I would always ask them, what do they have for lunch? Because I was so curious. I don't know why, but I'm so curious what people eat every day. And I don't know why. And they would be like, why do you care? I'd be like, I'm just curious. And so it was, so let me know what you had for breakfast. All right, 9:30 a.m., March 28, 2023. We have 3 days left in March, and then we move on to April. The stock market in the United States of America is now open. Wake your ass up. The market is now indeed open. We've got Wejo down 2.43%. First Republic up 2.23%. Snowflake up 0.6%. Relatively flat. AMD is flat. Hub C is flat. Nvidia 264 minus 4.41%. That's flat. Netflix 0.37. That's also flat. Palantir up 0.62. Square not collapsing from Hindenburg's report. So Square is holding on pretty strong, and they've lost 10 billion in market cap, but they are holding on very well. I mean, they were at 64 before their latest earnings, which earnings were pretty good when they ran to 76. So they've just got back down to before their earnings. It doesn't seem like there's any meat on the bones for the Hindenburg stuff. CrowdStrike 131, Meta 199. So Meta falling below 200, likely macro related, just moving with the market. It doesn't seem like any particular news that would bring it down. We've got Spotify at 128. Coinbase is actually up 62. Kathy bought some Coinbase yesterday. SoFi 576. SoFi doing very well, staying above the $5 range. This whole idea of a reverse split because it was under $5, which was kind of my hesitation for buying it at $4. Honestly, was I thought like there might be a little chance of that. It's kind of been put to bed. I mean, we've been staying above $5 for a pretty long time, and as we get to 6 and 7, it's going to be a little bit more attractive to institutional investors that can invest in penny stocks, which are basically stocks that are under $5. PayPal at $73, Bitcoin 26,900, Robinhood $8.68. They have $6 billion of cash on their balance sheets. My door just closed randomly, and I thought that was kind of like a ghost thing, but I realized the window was open, so the wind pushed it. $6 billion on their balance sheets, but their monthly transactive users are declining because people just aren't trading as much, and that is the problem with Robinhood. That's why I'm not buying the stock. Enphase at 195, so we got Enphase going down a little bit. S&P at 395 as well. NEO at 914. Yeah, overall a pretty boring market. Nothing too crazy. It's small talk. You should stop it. It's fun. I just like knowing what people had for dinner and for food. That's all. Do you still coach now? I coach one kid. I'm actually going to Kentucky in April for one tournament that he has. It's the Tournament of Champions. So I coach one kid. I've been coaching this one kid for like 2-3 years now. Not 2-3 years, like 1 year. And he's the only kid that I actually coach. So before I used to coach, before I started YouTube and my startup, I was coaching like 80 kids. I was coaching a lot of kids. So now I don't do that. Good morning, Amit Ramnath. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So far, I've only eaten carrots. Carrots are good. Are you looking at SLG? Yeah. So Chris went into SLG last night. For those that missed the pod, please check it out. First of all, the 200 of you that stayed the whole time for the pod, thank you. It means a lot. I think we've got something good with that pod with me, Vitaly, Chris, and Carlos, and we're going to try to do it every single day. So I appreciate you all being here. 1968 SLG Reality. Chris did a deep dive on them. Essentially, they've got 12 billion in assets. They're one of two companies that are the largest commercial real estate holders in New York City. $1 billion market cap and only 4.5 billion in liabilities in debt, right? So it's looking pretty attractive to Chris. Now, Vitaly hit back on that argument, and that's why I think it's a really good debate you guys can watch, because he said they're not growing, and some of the COVID stuff has affected them, and it's going to take them a while before they're able to get people back into the offices to be able to charge those premiums on the rent they were getting. And so you're basically going to have to wait a decent amount of time for some real growth to happen. Chris thinks it's a quadruple from here in the next 5-6 years, or even earlier than that. So again, you guys, we'll talk more about it even going further, but Vitaly's not sold on it. Chris has got a $500,000 position with him and his brother-in-law in this. This is a REIT. It also pays a 16.2% dividend. Now, I am new to the world of REITs. I did not know that REITs are taxed differently, and they basically are able to pay a massively higher percentage when it comes to a dividend yield because of how they're taxed differently. Now, obviously, as a shareholder, we have to pay a different type of tax on that dividend, which is going to be higher than a regular capital gains tax. But I didn't know there were look at this 16.6 dividend. I didn't know a company could give a 16.6% dividend yield. And then I realized yesterday why the legal infrastructure of it allows that to happen. That 16% dividend is probably going to be cut, given some of the issues they have with growth over time. I don't know when that would happen, but every quarter, every 6 months, they're going to be establishing a new dividend growth rate. I'm still looking into SLG. Look, I bought 20 shares. I don't have a really big position. I just bought 20 shares of it, but I want to go deeper into their 10K and go deeper into what the growth prospects that Chris sees about them. I think his biggest bull case is that it is incredibly difficult to own New York real estate, and the fact that this company already has New York real estate, and they have $12 billion worth of it, and they're one of the two biggest commercial real estate property managers, and they've been in business for 30 years. It's not like some 5-year-old startup. is, and the undervaluation in comparison with all those facts makes it a juicy proposition to him for now. So we would have to see. We will have to see. Came late to the stream, had to rewind to the cowbell. Yes, always got to start with the cowbell. Thank you, Carlson, for being here. All right, let's cut into the talking heads and see what they are talking about this morning as we get into it. Oh, we have, this is something actually really important, the debt ceiling. Let's talk about this. I think at the end of, I might be getting this wrong, either at the end of next month or June, we have the debt ceiling coming up. For those that don't know what the debt ceiling is, at least in the United States, it's how much money Congress allows us to take when it comes to debt. And so unless Congress raises the debt ceiling, we will not be able to do anything as a government. We will not be able to spend, not be able to borrow, nothing, right? Because we don't have the money to do that. We need to incur debt. We have $31 trillion in debt. So Congress needs to raise the debt ceiling to like 35 trillion. So we have another 4 trillion to spend. Now, the problem is when we do this, it's not the best for us to have these many trillions of dollars in debt, right? It's not a good thing. So the only way we're likely going to be able to raise the debt ceiling, and now that we have a split Senate and House of Representatives, with the Democrats being the majority in the House Senate and Republicans being the majority in the House, I believe, is that there's going to have to be a compromise. Republicans are going to want massive cuts on spending. Democrats typically don't like that. So there's going to have to be a lot of compromise in order to raise this debt ceiling. So let's get an update on this, because this will absolutely affect the markets. Markets hate when we don't have insurance or clarity on what's going on from a political perspective, because they just don't know how to proceed if, the United States isn't able to spend any money.
Now, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, great to have you on to highlight this here first on what's contained in your letter. You saw. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We can see what little tremors do in the financial system. We've seen that the last couple of weeks, which makes us think what a true impasse would mean if something happens here. Given what you're saying and given the response from the White House press secretary, it doesn't seem like we've made any progress since that meeting you had 2 months ago with President Biden.
We've made no progress. And Joe, you know me, I'm always an optimist. I'm not now.
No progress. That is the House Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying we have made no progress with the Biden administration to be able to figure out what we're doing with our debt problem.
They asked to pass just to raise the debt ceiling. Well, they control the Senate. They can't pass it in the Senate. Even Democrats in the House tell me they would not vote for that. So that's off the table. The president and I met more than 2 months ago. Since that time, he has misled the whole Congress and the country. When we were together at the prayer breakfast, he says we're going to sit down the next day, told the entire Congress that we're going to meet. At the Democratic retreat, he told the Democrats that we were planning meetings. He's never had one meeting. It's been more than 2 months. Time is ticking. Now I'm very concerned about where we are. Look, we've came with an idea of being very reasonable, responsible, to limit, save, and grow. We picked ideas that Democrats have for. Limit the amount of spending. That's what Joe Manchin says. The outgrowth, non-defense, just cap how fast you can grow. Find savings. We have billions of dollars of unspent COVID money that sat dormant for more than 2 years. You can grab some of that back. Find our ability to grow this economy, through energy. Maybe you do something when it comes to securing our border. Maybe you do work requirements, things that he voted for as a senator, which Bill Clinton put in, for those with no dependents. These are ideas that we have more than 4 trillion in savings. And now the economy is even a worse position because of his extreme spending levels, what they took with all Democrats in power. I am more concerned than I have ever been to be able to get this debt ceiling done, because he refuses to meet with anybody and then misleads the American public, and the markets aren't seeing that.
In the letter you say I have no interest in brinkmanship, but it seems like both sides are, at least at this point, ready to take it there. And do you see any room for negotiation at all at this point? What if the president, every time we talk to him, what if he says clean debt? We did it during Trump 2 or 3 times with a clean raise. Democrats gave you a clean raise. We want a clean raise. You'll never do that.
We never did a clean during Trump. You can talk to anybody there. You can talk to Nancy Pelosi. What they did was, we'll raise the debt ceiling if you add more spending. It was an agreement between the two. Joe Biden did this in 2011, the Joe Biden agreement talks. Every time you have a discussion, 74% of the American public wants us to sit down.
So this is interesting. So debt limit is 38.31 trillion. We reached the debt limit in Jan 2019. March 2020, executive measures likely exhausted. Tax payments make room under limit April 2023. We usually collect about $4 trillion in taxes, maybe like 4.5. And so by September 2020, the debt limit could intersect with the spending bill deadline. And again, by September, if they don't figure out how to or how much we're going to spend, we're going to be in a shutdown with the government. This has happened multiple times under administrations. It happened under Trump, happened under Obama. Under Obama, I think it happened the longest in like 2014, and eventually we came to a conclusion. At some level, they have to come to a conclusion, right? But it's still a tough negotiation process. So that is something to take care of. I mean, over the next couple months, if we don't figure out what's going on with that, stocks are going to be in a little bit of a free for all in terms of just not knowing exactly what's going on. We've got AMD and Nvidia. We've got semis that are down today. Okay, so we got semis 1.6% down and 2.3% down on AMD and Nvidia. Netflix is down a little bit. Palantir looks like it's halted, but it's not halted, but it's just pretty flat at 804. Bank of America, JP Morgan. So we've got some we've got some bank stocks that are up just slightly. Again, I found out yesterday Berkshire Hathaway owns 10% of their portfolio in Bank of America. Like, I knew they had a big position. I didn't know it was that big of a position. So they do have a ton of Bank of America stock. Tesla below 190. Wow, Tesla 188. I believe someone uploaded a video showing Tesla's new FSD, like 11.33 or something. I'm probably getting the number wrong. And it was pretty good. Just in terms of how, strong it was in terms of navigating different barriers that they had. So FSD seems to be getting better. Tesla at 187. I think their earnings are going to be in April, if I'm not wrong. So we will have Tesla earnings to see in just about a month or so. We've got Google down at 2.5%. Google at 100. Google was staying solid at 107. So now it's down just a little bit. Arc Innovation, $37. It is down as well. Let's check on Coinbase. Coinbase is down as well, $61, down 1%. And we've got CleanSpark, which is another Bitcoin energy mining stock that is also down. Snapchat, $11, still is doing very nicely. It's down 3% today, but it's been up from like $7, $8 over the past couple months. So Snapchat's still up about 30% from some of the lows, but still down today. Just about 3%. NASDAQ, 11,690. So yesterday we were about 11,840. We were getting closer to the 12,000 on the NASDAQ. That has taken a hit today as we are down at 72. And let's check the S&P. S&P now at 395. S&P has been flat, so no major changes on the S&P. Nvidia needs to break 260. Otherwise, we'll springboard again. Yeah, you remember that? So I tweeted about an article. That that I got as a draft from a friend. About Nvidia. It's like a 10-page long article for why Nvidia is overvalued. Apparently, Seeking Alpha did not allow the article to go into publish for whatever reason. They didn't allow the article to go into publish. I actually don't know why, but he was just like, it was some BS reason. But it was a pretty good article, man. And it's like this bad puppy is a little bit expensive, to say the least. So it's I guess we will ultimately see how this thing plays out, but it's not allowed to go into the mainstream yet because it just wasn't approved. We've got Walgreens with an earnings beat. Okay, it's up 2.8%. Let me see if I can get Walgreens earnings. Did that happen? Oh yeah, that did happen this morning. I forgot. Walgreens did put out earnings this morning. Okay, so let's look at Walgreens earnings. Walgreens, for those that don't know, is a drug pharmacy company in the United States. They sell pretty much anything you can imagine. They're like a smaller version of Walmart, but they're more based on drugs and pharmacy. And they just sell a bunch of random stuff. Like Walmart obviously sells like a ton of Chinese stuff. Walgreens is like you can get sodas and candies and like t-shirts and random stuff from Walgreens. But mainly they focus on drugs. I mean, that's their core business. Earnings per share, $1.16 adjusted versus $1.10. $1.10. Revenue, $34.86 billion. Wow. Is that for the year or is that for the quarter? No, that's for the quarter. That's for Q1. Wait, is that Q1 of 2023? Wow, we're already having earnings for Q1 2023? That's because the last earnings sector we had was all for Q4 20. I didn't know we're starting Q1. Wow, $34 billion in the quarter. That's insane. That is amazing. Unless I'm reading this wrong, that is incredible. Wow. Operating income fell to nearly 200 million from more than 1.2 billion a year earlier, reflecting 306 million in pre-tax. Under the new CEO, Walgreens is focused on growing the company's health unit, primarily care in-home devices. Remember, Walgreens is a pretty innovative company, at least from a decision-making perspective. They took a shot on Theranos. Now, I know Theranos turned out to be a scam, and Hulu actually has a great series on Theranos if you're into business documentaries and stuff like that. But they tried to incorporate Theranos into their business and like really embrace like checking your blood in a more revolutionary way. It ended up not working, but they have been more along the cutting edge of trying to do different things. Walgreens reaffirmed its full year earnings guidance of 445 to 465 per share, projecting adjusted earnings growth of mid 20% over the next 2 quarters. That's not bad. Earnings growth of mid 20%. That's actually pretty amazing. Wow, 30 billion in a quarter. That's incredible. I didn't know that means like if that means Walgreens, we just annualize that. That's about 120 billion a year. I did not know Walgreens was doing that well. I did not know Walgreens was making 120 billion in revenue. Pharmacy prescription volume was up 3.5% excluding vaccines. They have roughly 1,900 stores, remain under shorter hours of operations. Wow. Well, it's not bad. If you are a Walgreens shareholder, congrats to you. It's up 2%, and it's not a bad earnings at all. 20% growth for a company like that, quarter per quarter, is pretty good. Okay, let's see what else we have. Hello, Amit Adele. Hello, thank you for being here. Martin, thank you for being here as well. Let's go to here. Okay, so let's click on this one. I want to take a look at what Kevin McCarthy may be saying on another pretty controversial subject we've got, which is TikTok. Let's see his thoughts on that.
Been kind of a bipartisan issue. The Chinese finally bring us together on something, but I've started to see some murmuring on the left about the idea of banning TikTok. And, you know, everybody wants to get young voters, and a lot of people, 150 million people apparently love this. I haven't been on it, but they love TikTok. Do you think it should be banned? Is that politically palatable to both sides now? Or are you going to lose one side that, I don't know, feels like they can, if they were to ban it, I saw Democrats say we'll never get another vote from any young people.
I don't know. If 150 million Americans knew that their data was being used by the Communist Party of China, would they be concerned about using it? Do we have a responsibility as policymakers? You had the CEO to TikTok sitting before Congress.
By the way, the answer is no. Most of those 150 million Americans don't give a shit about China using their data. They really don't. So I think he's wrong on that.
Congress that literally admitted that he could not control the data used by the Communist Party of China. He just wanted to determine that, well, there's different definition of spying. We've watched China and the president, Xi, actually changed his constitution where he can serve longer. We've watched him only leave his country twice during the pandemic, both times to meet with Putin in the creation of a new axis of power. I think the last administration had it right when TikTok should have been sold, where they kept the data in America to an American company. I think there's a real concern here with the growing rise of China, their desire of what they want to do. And I think as policymakers, if you have information and you don't protect the American public, you're not doing your job. If you're more concerned about getting votes than it is about securing the nation itself, that's a concern to me. But I believe there are votes on both sides of the aisle to change TikTok as it currently stands today and to protect the American public on their data moving forward.
Okay, he didn't say much, to be honest. It's the same kind of talking points. I don't think TikTok gets banned, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's that much, there's enough bipartisan support, but there's not I don't know if they have 2/3 of Congress ready to vote on it. You know, Republicans have their talking points, but Democrats also are pushing back against it. So let's see. I think they have to have a little bit more better of an argument. It sounded like an ad. Yeah, it literally sounded like an ad. Like it just wasn't, you know, that's some of the problem when they go on mainstream television. They have to talk more natural, and they just don't end up doing that. Amit, did you watch snips from courts? I think questions are asked are questionable. It just touched the surface level, not in depth of it. Yes, I agree. So some questions I think they asked were were like gotcha questions, and they actually did get him on some of them. But other ones, there were senators asking like, do you connect to the Wi-Fi network of a user's house? And the guy was like, yeah, like how else would we get on the internet? Right? And so it's some of those questions were just kind of ridiculous. It wasn't that strong. An ideal earnings season is coming. It might be a good idea to do a calendar of this earnings that you were interested in talking about, and other important dates like CPI. This might help attract viewers. Yeah, let me actually, I want to pull up, I think there's one of these accounts that does these calendars really well. Just literally, for some reason, I felt like we had another couple weeks to go before we get to earnings. But we have it right here. Yeah, let me pull this up right here. These are the current earnings that are coming up this week. This is a good account called @the_transcript if you guys want to check them out on Twitter. So we've got Carnival. So these were Monday. On Tuesday, they forgot to put Walgreens in there, but we got Walgreens there. And then we've got BlackBerry. BlackBerry has transformed from a cell phone manufacturer to a cybersecurity company. So they've done a full 180. And so that's a bit of a different company. Then you got Skills on Thursday. Skills is a company. I don't know if you guys remember. It's a Kathy Woodstock. It was like a gaming company. She was buying it from $11, like $3. Ultimately, had to sell out of it. But that's one of those companies that she was buying as well. It's interesting. Perception of TikTok Congress hearing is widely accepted as a joke, out of touch by most people that aren't in the business. Yeah. Look, I mean, some questions around CCP and data were good, but other questions were just not strong. And the problem is he didn't respond to it in the best way. And a lot of times perception is reality more than actual reality. And if he had just responded, and he sounded like he was scared every time he responded, even though he had like somewhat of a right response. And if he had just responded a little bit more stronger, I think the thing would have done well for him. Most people on TikTok that were commenting on the TikTok congressional hearing basically thought like the politicians were a joke and they didn't know how TikTok works, because, you know, they're in the culture of TikTok and they like TikTok and they know how TikTok works. That's a quarter of a year gone already. Yeah. It's a quarter of a year gone. So you're saying Tic Tac comes through the TV box when he used the typewriter. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right. What do you guys think about Elon Musk and his new, what he's doing now on Twitter? If you guys didn't see the news, and I'll touch on it briefly, because the last thing we get into today, Elon Musk has now announced that in order for you to show up in the Discovery For You section of Twitter, he is forcing people to be verified. Also, this was a funny, this is a meme. He said, "Babe, please stop. You're not even close to being a niche internet celebrity." And then there's a guy tweeting, "Yep, this one's doing number," and you got 4 likes. And see, this is why I like Elon, bro. It's just fun little memes and stuff like that. It's cool. But this is his tweet. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this is real? Do you think this is a good idea? Basically, now to get any level of exposure on Twitter, you have to be verified, which is going to cost somewhere in the range of $7 to $8 a month. Curious what you guys think about this idea and what it was and what it would work. Not sure how Americans can cover for TikTok and not want them banned, considering Google and Meta are banned in China, one-way street. Well, you know, the opposite argument I've heard to this was actually a good take yesterday. You know, it's an interesting argument, is that if we were to ban TikTok, we would be just as authoritarian as China banning our tech companies. And that's not the precedent we want to set. Now, the counter argument to that counter argument is like, yeah, but if, you know, they can't ban us and we don't ban them, right? We have to play a level game. But it's kind of like, just because I kill you doesn't mean, just because someone kills you doesn't mean you kill, you know, their friend, right? Like, nonetheless, it's not the best argument, but there is an argument that maybe we shouldn't set the same precedent of banning tech companies. Obviously, I think that if China actually poses a threat, we should, but it's hard to imagine the United States actually doing that. Yes, they ban stuff, but do you want to be like China? Yeah, and that's kind of the argument, right? That's pretty much the argument. I agree, but not at the current price point. I think if Elon did this for like $2, it might be more, I think people would be more into it. But yeah, $8 it's, you know, it's not a lot of money, but it is a lot to the average person. It's like, well, $8 a month for what am I getting out of it? Like Netflix is, you know, $16 a month. So half of Netflix for the content on Twitter, where the content on Twitter is not as good as the content on Netflix. And it's most likely available for free, right? It's probably not that valuable. So yeah, I mean, we will see with that. I did a whole take on that on my morning cowbell show, so you guys can check that out. Amit might be the next Elon. Yeah, hopefully. Got a lot of work to do before we get there. Bitcoin to 1 million in 90 days. Did you hear about that? I did hear about that. I do not think that is happening. I think it's an interesting argument. I think the premise for the banks have failed, and that we are entering hyperinflation is the wrong premise to be able to build a argument that Bitcoin will enter into the only asset that is left for people to run to from a digital gold perspective in order to hedge back against the rising amounts of hyperinflation. I just don't think the US dollar will hyperinflate. And I don't think our allies will let the US dollar hyperinflate. I don't think ultimately our military and all the infrastructure we've created will let us get into hyperinflation. And I think J-Powell's cutting enough rates and inflation's going down to the point where we're not going to get into hyperinflation, even if we print some more money. It's just, and that has to happen for Bitcoin to get to $1 million. We have to have hyperinflation. So if that's not happening, we're likely not going to get to that point. My daily reminder of researching Rocket Lab. Yes, Simon, I still have to respond to your DM as well about Rocket Lab. So I will get back to you on that today. I need someone to come on the podcast. So Simon, I'm going to see if you're free then. Either on Saturday or Sunday, we should record a podcast one of those days, just talking about Rocket Labs, and we'll put it out. And so other people can check out a little bit more about Rocket Labs. We're all addicted to Twitter. Yes. Or at least Miyoko, you and I are addicted to Twitter. Not every, see, in our world, Twitter is so important, but in most people's worlds, Twitter is like, again, my friends, they don't give a shit about Twitter. But for those that are on Twitter, like, we're all addicted to Twitter. Done, buddy. All right, Simon. Sounds good. So we'll set up a date and we'll talk about Rocket Labs. All right. That's it for me, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. We'll have our podcast late night cowbells tonight at 10 p.m. So make sure you're there. Hopefully it's a fun time. A couple more videos coming out throughout the day. And that's pretty much it. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy your Tuesday. Got to get through the rest of the week. And I will see you later tonight. Thank you all for joining me on the Market Open. All right, everybody. See you later today. Bye-bye.